Club September 25th Beercan race. This is the last Beercan race of the season, and we had a bunch of people out who all wanted to get one last bite at the apple of heading up to the Bob Klein buoy and back to the Richmond Yacht Club. The topic of discussion that we're all having right now in the cockpit as we look back behind the boat is a giant tanker that's coming out the channel straight through our starting line. We're wondering if we're going to be able to make it to the start before the tanker does, or if the tanker is going to start right alongside of us, what side of the channel we want to be on. As you can tell, we're really late to the start here. These reach starts can be really challenging, especially in a skinny channel, and then also with the added complexity of a giant tanker coming out the channel as well. You just really don't want to get in front of them, so it wasn't worth risking a good start to potentially get in front of a huge tanker. That's okay though, we still can fight our way back up through the fleet here. There's plenty of wind, we have plenty of power, and relatively flat water inside of this little channel. seen, I'm going up to the jumbos to change the data. We generally put the primary readings up over the companionway: true wind speed, apparent wind angle, and boat speed. True wind speed is there to help determine whether we need to depower the sails in some way or alternatively power them up. Apparent wind angle is there as a reference for the driver in addition to the telltales, as well as the trimmers to see if we're pointing as well as we should be. And boat speed is there because it's the judge and jury of everything. Our rule of thumb is to leave egos at the dock. We encourage crew to experiment and explore new settings, and let the knot meter tell you whether you're right or wrong. I know some people are a big fan of true wind angle as well, and while I'm not a big fan of it, we do have that screen set up in our instruments just in case the driver likes to reference true wind angle instead of apparent wind angle. Generally at other yacht clubs you don't see lasers doing the weekly beer can race, but at Richmond Yacht Club it's pretty regular to see at least one if not a few lasers go out, and on some nights, like this night, they can beat all the rest of the big monoholes all the way back to the club with burgers in hand and cocktails before anybody else gets back to the dock. It's pretty impressive. is one of the other things that we do quite often is we try to switch up the driver with other members of the crew. This is both to assess people's skills at driving for different offshore races, but it's also to give people an experience at the wheel so that they're able to get a good idea of what's going on in the back of the boat while they may be working in the front of the boat. It can also help that person, when they are working in the front of the boat, understand what the driver is being challenged with at a given moment in time. So just being able to cross-train across the entire boat will, I think, make the crew a better crew in the long run and give everybody a really good perspective of how different parts of the boat operate and how the boat feels under different conditions. The other thing that we've related this to is getting a gift on Christmas morning. You might not let any other friends play with the gift for a day, 2 days, maybe a week, but past that, if you're really not letting anybody else have any of the fun, you're kind of just bogarting all the fun, and it's not cool. So what we try to do is allow crew members who may not have the chance to drive, especially on other boats, to drive our boat, get practice, and have the fun that the driver gets to have in controlling the boat. It's an absolute blast, and we want to share that with others on board. For any of you who have been cringing at how loose our jib halyard is, I'm right there with you. That's one of the painful parts of looking at footage, is seeing little pieces of information like that should have probably been fixed while we were out sailing. This evening was a hectic evening of sailing, and also our jib halyard clutch is slipping a little bit, which we're trying to figure out a fix for, whether that's doing 2 clutches in a row or trying to resize the line to better fit the clutch or some other tactic. But there are definitely trimming improvements that we could have made on this evening that we didn't, and that's okay. The boat still sails fairly well with the condition that it's in, but it's always fun to look back at this footage and learn different ways that we could have improved our performance. If we had tightened up the jib halyard, it probably would have let us point just a little bit higher and have a cleaner shape on the jib. Also, just to be clear here, the boats that you're seeing off to the left are not actually pointing higher than we are. I have the screen warped slightly so that you're able to see some of our competition around us and also people passing us here. But we're actually pretty much in line with this other boat fairly closely. It might be pointing slightly higher, but not by a lot. And we're also right on ley line here, so Ira may be coming down a little bit lower than this other boat as well, just to go straight for the mark. But just noting that the screen is warped a little bit, so just keep that in mind as you watch. our plan at the mark is to do a jibe set, and we talked ahead of time about trying to do a bit more of a wide and tight rounding, given the fact that we want to jibe around the mark. But unfortunately we had a boat to windward of us who gave us room to round the mark, but not a lot of room to do the wide and tight rounding we had hoped for. Also, while the screen warp of the camera makes it look like there's no overlap, I'm fairly certain we had an overlap with this other boat more than 2 boat lengths away from the mark. You'll also hear me encouraging Ira to focus on steering to the mark as opposed to focusing on the boat to windward of us. And when she keeps focusing on the other boat, I tell her to shut up. This is the downside of having footage of your race. We've discussed it, and I would recommend not telling your helmswoman to shut up, especially if she's your helmswife. We've since discussed it and are fine with one another, but this is one of those tense moments that is worth reviewing for making sure that you're treating others on the boat as you should be.
Go ahead and jibe, Ira.
Driving, watch your head.
Okay, hold on everything. Hold. Don't move.
What we're discussing at the back of the boat here is whether the wind angle is too far forward to set a kite. We're probably going about 8 to 8.5 knots at this point, and the wind is about 90 degrees apparent. But we're on course to the finish. If we put up a kite at this point, we would likely be going around 9+ knots, which is going to move the wind forward of a beam reach, meaning we either need to steer below the course to the finish, or if we steer our course, we risk a roundup, which is slow, and our cat, who's hiding in the V-berth, wouldn't like it much either. The solution David recommended is that we reach up for a short bit, and then set the kite when our course is at an angle that we can carry the kite. And that's what we ended up doing.
Are we lifting? Okay, good. Are we made? Come up to fill it. Okay, right there. Okay, let's furl. You guys, yeah, pull it. Your job here is just keep it right on board. I think we're gonna get the normal dip inside that we usually get, where you're kind of high when you come in. So we might do our dive slightly early. Good call on the grind.
One of the things that I want to point out that just happened there is that the boat started getting a little bit squirrely and oscillating from left to right. And in response to that, David asked for the spinnaker to be ground down a little bit. And what that did is it gets the kite under control and stops the kite from drifting a little bit too far to windward. It may not be optimal trim for that moment in time, but it also helps the helmsperson keep the boat under control and not steer too much in order to correct the oscillations. So that's why I was complimenting on a good grind at that moment in time, is just because it makes life easier on the driver, it's a little bit faster, and it helps control the boat a little bit more. I think some people sometimes try to float the kite as far to windward as they possibly can, even when it starts oscillating the boat around, which makes life pretty hard on the driver. And it's just worthwhile for the grinder and the trimmer to work together to help steer the boat.
Okay, you guys ready to dive?
So in the course of us doing this jibe, keep your eye on the main sheet and how it's going out the corner of the boat. And what you'll see is our friend JP, who's been grinding for the spinnaker trimmer, goes and he sits down right here on the main sheet. And I yell at him not to sit there because he's going to get launched. Thankfully, we didn't go through the jibe with him sitting right there, and he wasn't thrown overboard. Otherwise, I think we'd be showing you a different kind of video. So there's a couple tips in there to point out that Sophie was mentioning to our bow crew, and that's if you get a wrap around the forestay, whether you're doing inside jibes or outside jibes with an asymmetrical spinnaker, it's to pull down on the clew of the sail, and what that does is it pulls the entire leech through the area that you're trying to jibe through, whether that's an inside jibe or an outside jibe. And the other thing that she's saying is to sheet in on the sheet as much as you're able to. And what happens is when you hang your body weight on the clew and the sheet is tight, it not only pulls the clew down, but it pulls the clew aft a little bit as well. And this helps work the kite around the forestay and through the jibe. So just a couple really good tips when you do get a single wrap around your forestay and you think it's still recoverable.
You guys should we come up? You guys, let's come up at the finish just for a second. Get some space. Yeah, if you want to. Okay. Ruffy being Ruffy. Now they're Friday at the office, is that Ruffy? You gotta have a fun line. Hang on, whoa, we're gonna come up. Hold. Come up here. Come up, grind in, guys. Slow. No higher. How are we looking? Okay, let's get ready to down. Go ahead, are you ready? Rob, you ready? Okay, drive down hard, spike it, go. Drive down hard. Stay down. Good job, really good job. Alright, that was a fast race. It would have been a good